Why me? I'm sure there are other better mothers than me. Sam was born with a congenital condition known as Pancreas Divisum. Not all born with this condition manifest symptoms, but not so the case with Sam. I remember crying out to God, Lord, you said you knit him together in my womb, that he is fearfully and wonderfully made, that he was not hidden from you when he was being formed. Why then did you allow it and not correct his condition before he was born? After reading that verse, I knew God was watching and listening, and He cares. But even after that revelation, Sam's condition persisted, and I prayed for God's favor to spare him from much pain. 2 Corinthians chapter 6 verse 2, and it says, "For He says, in the time of my favor I heard you, and in the day of my salvation I helped you. I tell you, now is the time of salvation. Now is the time of God's favor." Wow! For the next 2 years, he would be relatively quiet. Oh yes, he would still have attacks, but not as severe to warrant admission to the hospital. We thought we finally learned how to manage his condition. At that time, we were doing a Bible study about the fruit of the Spirit, and joy was the focus. I can't imagine how I can find joy in this suffering. But that morning, I did, in God's Word. I literally saw his eyes roll and thought he was going to die. That night, I remembered praying to the Lord, Father, if you will take Sam, there's nothing I can do. I don't know how I can survive. But I release him to you. I release him into your loving hands. I prayed like I've never prayed before for God to spare my son from death. And He did. Trust in Him at all times, O people. Pour out your hearts to Him, for He is our refuge. Although I was tired and fearful, yet I had that wonderful sense of hope. Perhaps it is that moment beyond all others when the peace of God transcends all understanding. It was just a flurry of tests and procedures. I had moments when I would question if God cares. It was then that I fully appreciated a church family who will lift us up and uphold us before the Lord. During the times when I have cried out to God as a mother in behalf of her only son, I don't doubt that God felt compassion and sympathy. It is then that He unleashes His loving kindness. His heart is too tender to stand by passively. As a widow, God had promised to stand as my husband, to be the father of my children. It was just right after that difficult and challenging time when my son Sam was in and out of the hospital. I thought, why not? I've learned so many things about God, about my children, about myself from this experience. But one thing that sticks out is that God reveals His majesty most clearly against the backdrop of hopelessness.